Hey, welcome back. I'm Elisa, and we are continuing with joints and overviews. This is part two. All right, and we're going to kick off with some synovial joints. All right, so let's get all those fly-ins and the old timey slides with those fly-ins. So synovial joints are generally going to be these joints which allow for a broad range of movement, and they have many components, including cartilage, including ligaments, and including synovial fluid that all help to stabilize and mitigate any kind of destruction from the movement and hopefully not too much grinding over time of that particular joint. These joints are found, so like shoulder, knee, etc. Right, so those kind of big movers. So let's talk about some of the components. So the articular cartilage, the joint cavity itself, the articular capsule, and the synovial fluid, as well as some others as we kind of go into it. But let's start here. Articular cartilage is where we articulate the two bones together, for in this case, right? And so as they are coming to touch, and remember we talked about them having like some broad ranges of motion, for example, they are running into the point where they might grind on each other quite a bit. And in the case of arthritis, right, or inflammation of the joint, they sure do. So the articular cartilage is going to be hyaline based cartilage, and it's going to cover the ends of both of the bones that are going to be touching or moving. The synovial joint cavity is the space that is holding the fluid and kind of stabilizing that area and allowing for that movement. The articular capsule is made of two layers. There's a fibrous external dense connective tissue one for strength on the outside of the joint. We'll look at that a little bit more. And then we also have a synovial membrane, which is on the inside, and that is going to be producing synovial fluid, right, which keeps the joint lubricated and moving smoothly. The synovial fluid, just so you know, is viscous. It lubricates and it nourishes, and is contained in what we call the capsule, right? So there's an enclosure around these types of joints that keeps everything in there together, stable and collected. And the articular cartilage. Yes. Okay. So here's, oh, there. Oh, almost. Okay. Some other components we need to talk about are going to be, of course, those ligaments. So ligaments act like the duct tape, right, which join bone to bone, for example, right? So tendons are bone to muscle, ligaments are bone to bone. There are some that are in the inside of the capsule, and there's some of the in the outside of the capsule, and there's some in the inside of the capsule, right? So extra, think outside, and intra, think inside. There are also nerves and blood vessels. So these are highly innervated, highly vascular, right? You can even get, so there's these joints, these are the joints that are going to be swelling. Sometimes they respond to even just barometric pressure outside, too much salt, not enough water, all that. These is because they're highly vascularized. They have a lot of nutrients, and so in some cases they actually even have infections that occur inside of the joints due to this high vascularization. Also, there's the meniscus, and the meniscus is a discus, and what it is generally is fibrocartilage. And that also helps those two bones kind of when they do articulate. It kind of has like a little bit of an insert where they would fit, but also not touch. Okay, so it also provides a bit of that padding. All right. Here's like kind of a stylized picture before we jump into like some of the more complex joints. I'd like to start here. So here we have bone 1 and bone 2. They are meeting and they are allowing for a great and broad range of motion because we have a synovial joint. So let's talk about those components. So right here, let's begin looks proximal. So the articular cartilage, which we'll see here at the distal end of each one of these epiphyses, you can see here, right, labeled up in blue. So on top of that is the joint cavity space proper. This is an area where we'd see the synovial fluid, for example. The synovial fluid is produced by this green tissue here, which is not green in real life, but it is green on the diagram. And it produces and secretes the synovial fluid, which is going to fill this chamber and add that extra layer of comfort and nourishment. Oops, okay, get back there. Nope, nope, that way. Okay. Let's see here, the articular disc. So this would be that discus meniscus, oftentimes is a fibrocartilage in here, adding to that perfect fit. There is a fibrous capsule. So that capsule surrounds the joint and it holds in and stabilizes any of the connective tissues that we have here, but primarily also allows for that synovial fluid to kind of stay pretty close to put. All right, that's the basics. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the structures you see in the joint. One is going to be this interesting bursa, which is like a pillow or a sac, and we find it in context with the synovial membrane and lining. So the bursa itself here we go, subacromial bursa right here. So they allow for kind of like this padded cushion area, fluid filled, right between bones within the joint. And also in this case, we have tendons and muscles moving under it. So it rolls a little bit, right, allowing for that motion. Okay. The tendinous sheaths are elongated bursae that actually wrap around the tendons. So here we have one here. Here's a tendon sheath. As you can see, that little pillow has wrapped itself around, in this case, a tendon. So as that tendon moves, bends, and stretches, that bursa just kind of like a soft jelly roll around, just keeping it separate, but allowing for that motion so it doesn't damage itself or other adjacent tissues. The three factors in joint stability are going to be, of course, how strong are those muscles? Are they tone responsive? Also, the ligaments themselves, and the fit of the articular surface. So that would be some, so arthritis can contribute to any of those issues as well as injuries, malformations, and all that. So let me just kind of erase this real quick. Oh, wait, boop, much better. Right. So acromion. So this one is the glenohumeral joint. So you need to know this one pretty well. Acromion of the scapula is reaching around here. As you can see, we have ligaments that are coming off it, stabilizing from bone to bone. This is the coracoacromial ligament, right? Because it's going to coracoid process. We have the bursa, so the subacromial, right? Because of acromion right here. Bursa, so it's a nice little pad that's going to bend, flex, and roll as the movement of the shoulder changes. We also have the fibrous articular capsule, which is going to be something that surrounds these tissues and helps keep in all of the connective tissue as well as the bone, synovial fluids, and other important structures. As you can see, there are many moving parts. Oh my goodness. Let's see here, the glenoid cavity opening containing the synovial fluid. So in this chamber here, it's kind of like yellow, right, with these little red dots now. So this is where our synovial fluid is. So it's being secreted into this area. We want quite a bit so that that joint stays lubricated, moves very easy without damage to any of the articulating surfaces. There is a thin pad or of articular cartilage here. This is hyaline cartilage, if you remember. So that kind of lines all of the adjacent bones. Here in green, down here is synovial membrane. So that would be the cluster of tissue that is going to secrete and produce and also filter synovial fluid. The fibrous capsule works to enclose the joint in its entirety, especially preventing any leakages of synovial fluid or any displacement of any of the structures that are found within this glenohumeral joint. Humeral, right? Humerus, that's the humeral point. Here's a tendon, as you can see, coming through the tendinous sheath, right, which is that folded over bursae. And so it rolls one way and another and is protecting that tendon the whole time in that very dangerous bony joint structure. So I think that was pretty good for now. And so this next time we will continue on looking at the joint shapes. But for now, I hope this was helpful. I hope you're out there somewhere having a great day. Bye bye.